You can like people and still feel completely exhausted after being around them. That is the part people misunderstand. They think if socializing drains you, it means you hate people. But sometimes you had a good time. You laughed, you talked, you were present, you actually enjoyed it. And then you get home, and suddenly you do not want to speak to anyone. Your body feels heavy, your brain feels full. Even replying to one simple message feels like too much. And you start wondering, why am I like this? Why does being around people take so much out of me? Psychologically, this is often called social exhaustion. It happens when being around people creates more mental effort than your brain can comfortably handle. That mental effort is called cognitive load. And socializing can create a lot of it because your brain is not only hearing words, it is tracking tone, facial expressions, body language, timing, pauses, the mood in the room. You're thinking about when to talk, when to laugh, whether you sounded weird, whether you said too much, whether you said too little, whether people understood you the way you meant it. And nobody sees that part. From the outside, you just look normal. But inside, your brain is running 20 tabs at once. That's why a normal conversation can leave you tired, not because anything terrible happened, but because your nervous system was working the whole time. And this gets even heavier if you're used to masking. Masking is when you hide or adjust parts of yourself so you can feel more acceptable around other people. You become more cheerful than you feel, more relaxed than you feel, more interested than you feel, less sensitive, less quiet, less honest. Not because you're fake, because you're trying to be safe. You're trying not to disappoint anyone. You're trying not to make the room uncomfortable. So you manage your face, you manage your voice, you manage your reactions. You become the version of you that seems easiest for everyone else. And after a while, that takes energy, a lot of energy, because you're not only being with people, you're performing being okay around people. And the more you perform, the harder you crash when you finally stop. That's why the moment you get home can feel so intense. You close the door, the room is quiet. No one is watching. No one needs a response from you. And your whole body finally drops the act. The exhaustion was already there. You just couldn't feel it fully while you were still on. Sometimes people drain you because they demand too much. But sometimes people drain you because you demand too much of yourself around them. You try to be easy. You try to be liked. You try to match the energy in the room, even when your real energy is somewhere else. And that's exhausting, especially if you're emotionally sensitive or if your brain is used to scanning for signs that something is wrong. In psychology, this kind of scanning is connected to hypervigilance. It means your mind is constantly checking for threat, even in small social moments. A change in someone's tone, a weird pause, a look that felt different, a joke that landed wrong. Your brain stores it. Then later, when you're finally alone, it replays it. Not because you want to overthink, but because your mind is trying to understand whether you are safe. That's why social exhaustion is not always about the people themselves. Sometimes it's about how much of yourself you lose access to around them. Because being around people often pulls your attention outward, toward their mood, their expectations, their reactions, their version of you. And when you spend too long outside yourself, you start feeling empty inside. Not because people are bad, but because you've been away from yourself for too long. So maybe you're not antisocial. Maybe you're overstimulated. Maybe you're not rude. Maybe your nervous system is tired. Maybe you don't hate people. Maybe you just need more time to come back to yourself after being around them. So if people drain you, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It may mean your social battery runs out faster. It may mean your emotional radar is stronger. It may mean you learned to monitor yourself around others instead of simply existing. And maybe the real question is not, why do people drain me? Maybe the deeper question is, who do I become around people? And how long can I keep being that person before I need to come home to myself?